Hello and welcome back to the show. For the next couple of months, I will be using this platform to allow viewers to get to know and interact with our 2020 Democratic political candidates, as well as discussing some current social issues. In order for us to make the difference and the change that we want to see in this world, we have to be educated and politically active. On the Hagir show, we are trying to do our part to raise awareness and to make a difference. I am happy to have with me today Daniel Smith, or Dan, the Democratic candidate for state representative in the 12th district. Hello, Dan, and welcome. And if you don't mind just introducing yourself to our listeners and let them know a little bit about yourself.
Well, first off, Hagir, thank you very much for having me here. I really enjoy what you do, and the fact that you provide a platform for candidates to come and to voice what they'd like to have the message spread. Well, my name is Daniel Smith, and I live over in Cranberry Township, over near the western side of the state, from Harrisburg. My opponent is Daryl Metcalf, who just recently, a couple years ago, was on the state government committee in Harrisburg in the state legislature, but now he is in, I call it out of the frying pan and into the fire, is in the environmental, chairman of the environmental committee. But I've been a lifelong resident of this area. I grew up here since I was 1 year old. I'm a native son. For myself, it was actually kind of funny. My civics teacher at the time, when I was in high school, ran for office, and it just so happens it was this very same seat. And she utilized her class as sort of a tool to teach us about campaigning, about politics, and so on. And she ended up winning the seat. And when she won, it felt like we won too with her. And we were sad to see her go, but she did such a wonderful job for the district in her 8 years that she did. And we'll talk later on about some of the similarities I'm bringing to my campaign that she did, and what we're focusing on. But what sort of got me going to doing what I am doing now is I never had any type of political ambitions or anything like that. My passion started from screaming at a television. My husband would say, well, I think it was about two and a half years ago. It was during the time whenever my opponent, he was made popular by the "Don't Touch Me. I'm a married man. I'm a heterosexual." In the committee meeting, it made national news. It made Stephen Colbert, Neil Patrick Harris comedy shows and everything. But the way I looked at it, though, I mean, being openly gay, I mean, yeah, that did offend me. But what I really felt upset about was the fact that this is a person that's representing our district, and it's giving our area a black eye, and he's not really caring about that. And like I said, I grew up in this area, learned how to drive down the road. I have many memories around in the area. And also what my civics teacher, Pat Carone, did when she was representative. Then my husband had said, long story short, he said, well, just do something about it then. So I went to work that day, and I was mulling around. I was mulling over in my head on what to do. And then long story short, when I got home, I told him that I was going to run against him. And he said, well, I thought that you were just protests outside his office. I didn't think you'd do something like this. Yeah. Because there's always been a Democratic challenger to him, but because he's been in office since 1999 and going on his 22nd year, and has not done anything for this district. Whereas what I said before, it was my civics teacher, Pat Carone, 8 years. She then retired, and then Daryl won the office and has been in there ever since. And he hasn't done a thing in the 22 years he's been in office. And that's by talking with local leaders and municipal leaders. And the more I found out he hasn't been involved, and the more I found out that he hasn't had a talking communication open line of communication to municipal leaders. And the more I found out he had said to pretty much all the municipal leaders, it's not his job to bring our tax dollars back to the area. I was like, I'm sorry, I've been in the private sector for 25 years in finance. I fire people because of that. You don't get the job done without communication, no matter what your party is.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, that's why I just stepped up. It's a passion that I feel that someone, I'm not scared of the fact that he's a homophobic, bigoted, xenophobic, just pretty much anything, any obic out there is what he is. He is just a very, I'm sorry, hateful person. And he claims it's just, that is what we don't need in this area. And that's why I'm fighting. That is why I'm stepping up and doing what I'm doing.
And I just want to thank you, and you don't have to make any story short. People want to hear the main reason for you to run, because this is, we can all relate to that. I'm sure I have family members, friends, and people that I truly care about who are affected by all the phobias that you mentioned. I'm myself affected by that. And it is time this year, like I said, every show, it is not like your any other election time. This is, you have to vote like your life depend on it, like your kids' life depend on it, like everyone you care about life depend on it, because it does. And if you mind me asking, I was reading your bio, and you were a long-term Republican.
Yes.
Explain that to me.
Well, to be honest with this, it's what people call and categorize as an inherited party.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way it was in the family. I mean, carried on from grandparents to my parents, and it's just pretty much how we did it.
Yeah.
I remember I always envy. There's a neighbor of mine that just had a baby about a year ago, and they're out pushing her around and everything. And we would talk politics every so often, and politics. And I see the little girl in a little push cart with sunglasses on, and I always say I envy her.
Yeah.
I envy her because she doesn't have a care in the world or knowing what the heck is going on out there right now. Doesn't have to worry about any of that stuff. That particular feeling happened to me back in 4th grade, actually. It had nothing to do with political party. I just had a major fascination for Ronald Reagan. And I mean, it was to the point where my parents took my twin brother and I to Washington, D.C. And we were this close on catching a glimpse of him because he was leaving a hotel. I remember my dad and myself and my other brother were sitting there waiting for that, but we just missed them. But going to DC and buying this full-size poster of Ronald Reagan's face, I'll never forget. I mean, I had my bed and then the wall right next to it, where people put like like Star Wars and stuff like that. Here, I had a poster of Ronald Reagan right there. Wow. I don't know what it was. I just, as a young kid, that young, it was just thinking back to it. It was more like I liked listening to him.
Yeah.
He was appealing and he was approachable, and it was just, that's just the way it was when I was that age. And I cast my first vote. It was whenever Reagan was running, and we had like a mock election at school, and I cast my first vote. That was for Ronald Reagan. Wow. But whenever it came time to get my driver's license and so on, I just, okay, we'll just do this, and there it is. But what I ended up doing, though, is being a Republican, yes, I was a registered Republican, but every race since I started voting, I've always looked at all the candidates because the political party system has really become polarized.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it a lot more now. It wasn't back whenever I was I mean, I'm 45 now. It wasn't back when I got a voting age myself, not as much. But I always felt that the founding fathers wanted us to be more open with who we vote for, and even heck, even George Washington and John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, the first three presidents, foresaw this political system coming to a head. They were worried because it was going to get to a point where these political systems, the political parties, will become so polarized that nothing will get done. And we're pretty much at the threshold of it now, because we see it all the time within our state, we see it all the time within our federal government. So what I'm getting at is that yes, I was a Republican, but I always voted open ticket, as we talked before we came on.
Mm-hmm.
There's too many people that vote straight party ticket, not knowing who their representatives are.
Yeah.
Case in point, when we ran in 2018, we knocked over 20,000 doors. And a lot of the Republicans that we talked to, as soon as I introduced myself, I mean, it was a different name, they would just ask Republican or Democrat. And I said, well, I'm running on the Democratic ticket. They said, we only vote Republicans here. And I said, I wanted to learn more. And I had asked them, I said, well, do you by chance know who your representative is?
Yeah.
Well, I know he's a Republican.
Yeah.
Well, I understand that, but you know who he is. I mean, this is in 2018, whenever I ran. These are people that didn't know that our representative led the charge to where he refused to vote for a simple resolution to wish a convention of Muslims that would be visiting the state well, because he said, quote, Muslims do not recognize Jesus as God. The other one is that they didn't know that the representative, the same one, Daryl Metcalf, also said that also recognizing Domestic Violence Awareness Month, he opposed recognizing this because he said, quote, it had a homosexual agenda. He calls military veterans that support climate change traitors. He's called me a lying homosexual. I don't know how many times I've lost count. But moreover, as I told you at the beginning of the program, he doesn't bring our tax dollars back here, and people don't realize that this Republican has forced our local leaders in our area to use our local tax dollars to hire lobbying firms to go to Harrisburg and fight for the money to bring home. So whenever I talk to these individuals, there are some that pretty much are still shut off and say, well, I just vote Republican and that's it. But what we did was during 2018 and actually talk to the individuals. And I always got not yelled at, I always got mocked, like laughed at by my campaign team, because they said, you're just doing it one vote at a time. I said, sometimes that's what you got to do.
You're absolutely right.
But apparently it did something, because after the ballots were counted, yes, we did not win, but we did something else. Per the House Democratic Campaign Committee out of Harrisburg, we actually ranked #1 in the Commonwealth, the #1 campaign that outperformed historic numbers. We came closer than anyone's ever gotten to Daryl, let alone a 20-year incumbent. We raised more money than anyone running against him that has ever raised. We made him spend more money than he has ever spent in a campaign. Most Democratic challenges to him have had close to a 28 or 34% margin separation. As far as they lost by 38% or 24%. Ours, we narrowed it down to 12. A lot of people said you're wasting your time, but you know what? As long as you have a passion, you're not wasting anyone's time.
No.
You're doing what you feel is best, and that's why we're doing it. So that's what got me into this. This is how I feel. Being a Republican, I ended up switching to Democrat because I received a letter in the mail from the GOP,
Mhm.
and in it, it had actually. I'm going to do this exercise with you because this is rather interesting. If you can pick the top three things that Republicans always go after Democrats with, the most popular top three things
Mhm.
that top of your head, what would they be?
Oh, there is a lot, but on the top of my head,
Mm-hmm.
talk about being violent, liberal, socialism. uh,
About issues, though, like issues. I'll give you one. I'll give you, for example, guns.
okay, yeah, like guns. They
Uh,
yeah, they oppose, of course, to gun regulations,
right.
and
That guns. What would another topic be?
another topic will be
I heard them yelling in the background.
the homophobia.
No, no, no. I heard the little ones running in the background would be with children as far as abortion is concerned and stuff like that.
Yes, that's another thing. There's so many issues, Dan. You can't even, like you said, you can't even put your hand, like anti-abortion. Uh,
That, yeah, there's two.
oh, save the children, which
Yes,
that's something we do. When you
yes,
see kids, you don't care about kids after they're born, and
right.
you put them in a concentration camp, basically, like what is happening now at the detention center. You don't
Mhm.
care if they get killed or kneeled on or anything, but
Right.
you're worried about the woman reproductive, organs and
It's women's right to do what they need, what has to happen, and I'll definitely get into that topic too. But you named guns and abortion, and
yep,
the other one is where they always equate Democrats with is taxes.
taxes, yeah.
And taxes, abortion, and guns. I know there's a whole gamut of things, but if you really narrow it down and
Yeah.
you ask people, they'll narrow it down to those three. But the funny thing is, though, how easy is it to narrow three down for the Democratic Party? Not as easy as the Republicans, is it?
No.
That's the thing. Because I got this letter in the mail and it listed those three things: their view on guns, their view on abortion,
Mhm.
and their view on taxes. And after each one, when they stated their view, it had a phrase: without question, without question, without question.
Oh, okay. So that's your only option, your only option, and your only option.
And I always get in arguments with my father on this. I mean, he and my mom are Republicans.
Mhm.
And he said, Dan, you always have an option. Don't give me that excuse that that's the reason why you left. I said, Dad, that wasn't the reason why I left, but it sure as hell was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
Because I cannot be associated with a party that's telling me without question I can't question my leaders.
Yeah.
A party that's telling me that I cannot question various things. I firmly believe that, I mean, if I step up to it, and we see it, and we see it all the time now.
Yeah.
We see people in the federal government, whenever they step up to the plate and chastise the president, they get knocked through the teeth with bombardments of ads, bombardments of names, just chastised, banished.
And this is
Done.
all new. This is all new. And let me, I'm not stopping you, but let me take you back to the important thing that you said about uh, being born as Republican or Democrat, for that matter. And that's one of the things that we need to change. You and I and our future generation. You cannot just vote for a party because
Can't.
your family or like that. You cannot become a specific religion because you were born Christian, Jew, Muslim. You have to do your own research. And that's why we are introducing all the candidates so you can learn about them, about their campaign. And what scares me, then, what you said about knocking on the doors and people were not even have no clue who was running, but they just voted Republican. And that person was doing damage to not just your district, but if they move like their voice is going to be heard somewhere else, and they're going to echo that. And this is what is happening now. We have a bully as a leader, and we have bullies as Republican officials, and that needs to stop. And I agree with you, Democrat. If they do something wrong, I am not going to vote. If there is one person that is running, even the only Democrat person running for this office or my district, and I don't agree with them, I am not going to vote. And luckily, we don't have to win a straight ticket this year.
That's exactly how you look at it, because I mean, for a perfect example, I highly respect Tom Ridge. Yeah. Tom Ridge was the last, well, I know we had Governor Corbett and everything, but Tom Ridge was a full-term governor before he became the first Secretary of Homeland Security under Bush. I honestly, we might not agree ideologically, but I honestly felt that he possessed a wonderful way of handling the issues, because he always embraced working across the aisle. The whole moderate type working across the aisle, and it's ever more present because he had the guts to step up and say that he was not going to be helping Trump out. Yeah. He stepped up and joined Governor Rendell in their approval of what Governor Wolf has done for our state.
Yes.
You know, party be damned, as we had talked about before, with regards to that without question. Yeah. He just pretty much, I don't care, because that's why I'm impressed with them. And I'll be honest with you, I personally did not vote for Obama the first time out, because my whole belief was, I honestly felt that he didn't have the experience to do so. That was pretty much it, and that's how I felt with it. But I voted for him the second time because he did. That was what I thought.
Yeah.
And we're all entitled to that. And that's the first time I even let that out.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't think that it was there. And I wanted to make sure what was happening. But I honestly feel that we have a benefit now this time.
Yeah.
In this election, because our legislature, surprisingly, I don't know how the heck it happened, eliminated straight party voting.
Yeah.
So we don't have to do that anymore. Where we go visit someone or talk with someone, and in my case, we've been calling people. We reached over the 10,000 mark of talking to people. And when I say talk to people, it's not dealing with the campaign. I always start off, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And it's amazing how people want to talk. People want to let you know.
Yeah.
I don't foresee him doing that, but that's what we're saying to individuals, and that's why we've adopted bringing communities together as a slogan for our campaign. But back up to that, what I've always been saying for local issues aren't partisan issues. When we call 911, do you really think that the 911 operator asks what your party affiliation is before they come out and help you?
And they shouldn't. You're right. You're absolutely
not yet, but yes, you're right. They don't. I haven't. But whenever you end up going, your child goes to school. Whenever they do the roll call for the first day, do the teachers then ask what your family's party affiliation is while they're doing the roll call? No. Then why do our representatives and legislators constantly put them on the chopping block all the time? It's like a sacrificial offering table. If you want to have the unfunded mandates funded, or if you wanted to do anything with emergency services and all that, well, we have to back funding off to pay for this. Yeah. Why? Because, and I figured it out, because what we have going on in Harrisburg is we have politicians versus public servants.
Thank you.
Politicians wanting to keep their job instead of public servants doing their job.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to stop. And that's what I'm bringing to this. I'm not looking to do make an aggressive agenda that will take 2, 3, 4 terms. I am looking at what the path is ahead of me. I have 2 years afforded to me. I'm going to make the most of it, which is why I'm focusing on education and I'm focused on transportation in my area. I'm talking with teachers right now, working with the PSEA and bringing the people that are knowledgeable in the room to try and make a first step in towards eliminating the PSSAs and keystones in the state. I think it's detrimental to the students. I think it's undue pressure put on teachers as well as students and the students' parents. And I also feel that the schools should not be used to or have to do a state mandated testing in order to get funding for their schools, because it leads to discrimination by zip code and by municipality and community.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
And there needs to be a way that we can actually fix that. And I'm not saying eliminate it altogether, but I have not heard one elected official bring that up.
Yeah. One step at a time, and
that's it.
And you are doing it. You are doing an amazing job. And what people don't realize that, you know, they go and vote for the president, but they don't know that it is a foundation that matter. Your local officials, you know, your state representative, the ones that they're speaking on your behalf, you know, they represent your district, and then they're the one that bringing change and affecting in your level. And what you're trying to bring to your district is trying to have that education and trying to have the teachers, they're overworked and they're paid. And on top of that, we're adding stressor on top of them. So that's an issue we need to address, as well as many other issues that we will, you know, hear it from you during this interview, so people can know why they should vote for you, not your opponent, because you are bringing something to the table, and that's something, you know, that the one straight ticket party is not going to fix.
It's actually kind of funny, real quick, Hagir, is the fact that whenever I walked up the doors also, they the questions I would get from some of the Republicans were, do you support Donald Trump? And I paused a little bit and would ask them, I'm sorry, what was that again? I said, well, do you support Donald Trump? I said, look, I respect the office, bottom line. I was raised to respect the office. I honestly feel that it's the person that sits in the chair that has to earn my respect.
Yeah.
And so far, it has not happened. Yeah. And then the voter would say, well, that's not the answer I was looking for. But I said, let me expound on that a little bit more. What makes you think that I'll be going into the Oval Office anytime soon to talk to President Trump about 228 and Freedom Road in our area to expand and repave? That's why local issues are different than federal issues. Abortion, Roe versus Wade, gun rights, and so on. Nothing is going to be taking those. Those are the law of the lands. And people, what the Republican Party does is always instill fear with that.
Yeah.
That's the law of the land. There it is. Whether or not we enhance on it, that's what we got to focus on. But nothing's going to be overturned. The Second Amendment isn't going anywhere. It's staying right where it is. But we have I'm a gun owner myself. We have a responsibility to get with the times, though. Because I'm going into my old alma mater high school when I had a key to the place.
Yeah.
Whenever I worked in the I worked in the television studio at my high school, and I had to go there at nights to do broadcasting. So I had a key to the school. I thought I was hot as can be, was able to go in every door, you know, and just do all this stuff. But now when I go visit my alma mater, I'm in a holding cell until my driver's license cleared, until my background check is looked at. Then I go to the office and I get screened, and then I can go into just directly where I need to go. Things have changed. And because we want to put some type of more responsibility on gun owners or anything, isn't a tyrannical overreach on the Second Amendment. This is something we have to get with the times. We did it with automobiles. We did it with seatbelts. We did it with everything else. Why not now? But no, we have individuals that think that we're going to have truckloads after truckloads of army trucks coming down, and people are have to throw their guns away from their house. And that's not the case. It's the extreme, which is why I said people like my opponent, his job is to always tell you what the problem is and tell you who's to blame for it. That is a politician, rather than doing something about it and stepping up and dealing with the people that actually are funding his pockets. But that's another story. But I took that off a little bit, but that's what people have to look at. Have to look at the fact that local issues are for what is in your area, what needs done, what can get done, because the federal government won't do anything. You have to start at the state level. And if you don't have a representative that effectively helps your municipal leaders, then that person, regardless of party, needs voted out, and someone that embraces the area, that knows, or fresh eyes, fresh vision, needs to step up to help.
But
because that's where it starts.
I'm going to take you just back a little bit to, you know, the fear. This is a tactic. This is a weapon that any dictator use. You know, installing fear in the citizens or the voters or anybody for that matters, that listening to them, because this is how they control the whole scene. And when you talk about guns, no one is taking away that Second Amendment, but regulation. And that's, I think, what they put into all Republicans' head, that Democrats are going to take your Second Amendment away. They're coming to your homes, taking away your guns. No, that's going to happen if you are a registered offender, criminal. You shouldn't have that. If you're a domestic violence, if you're an abuser. And
if you have a PDA against you, it should be taken away.
You have that. If you are mentally unable to control yourself, your angers. I mean, we are asking for regulation. We're not asking to take guns away from people.
And it's the individuals, that cause the most ruckus is who I worry about.
Yeah. Yeah.
That are that against it.
Exactly. And I mean, this is might be for another time for like to discuss, but you know, I always have respect for a lot of Republicans that I knew, and I know that there is every party, like Democratic Party, the Republican Party, they have their ethics and they have their lines that they don't cross. I seen it blurry since Donald Trump took over, and I've seen the Republican as a party, it's drifting away from its value, from anything that, even if I am against, I might not agree with what they are holding or they're saying, but I always respected that. Most of the Republican president, they respected the law, at least.
Well, what I'd like to try and do is break this news on your show right now, because this will be the first that we're going to be doing this. We actually are going to be releasing some numbers here soon,
okay,
of individuals that we ended up talking with, and we have with over 5,000. Well, I'm actually close to 5,000 calls that have been made to persuadables as well as Republican voters. We've reached out to and spoke with a little over close to 2,000 of these individuals. And of those people that we did contact, we have targeted and been able to record that 72% of them are for us.
Oh, good.
So, and that's in the district alone.
That's good. That's good.
And these are Republicans and persuadables. So basically, there's 72% of the people that were contacted that do believe they're always doing not the job that needs to happen, especially what's going on.
Yeah.
That gives me hope. What also gives me hope is the fact that I go driving down around my district, around the district, not my district, the district I'm wanting to represent, and I see some houses that unfortunately do have a Trump sign in their yard, but one of our signs next to it. That is what I feel is someone that I don't deny or look down on people. If they want to vote for Trump, then obviously that's their right. My job is to earn their vote for local representation. And that shows me that they are opening their minds up, that they don't have to do straight party, that they find out who is actually doing. That's our message getting across.
And that's a starter.
That is a starter. Yes.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it mattered to me, but again, we cannot. This is why we are one of the greatest country because we always held our democracy to standard and we respected others. There are so many
Yes.
practices that I've seen, and it's upsetting.
Keep in mind, the district I'm running in is a 3-to-1 ratio to Republicans to Democrat.
Yeah.
So it is a prime example of a gerrymandered district. And a lot of people are asking, well, if he's running as a Democrat, then why doesn't he just run as a Republican and everything? Well, I'm proving that, as I said before, local issues aren't partisan issues. Yeah, I can take the easy way out and run against a Republican as a Republican and then take him out in the primary. But we just had a primary challenger that challenged him just recently, and he didn't do it. Mm-hmm. I want to have all the way to November to call him out. I want to have all the way to November to do what I need to do. Uh-huh. So with that said, so when people ask, well, why does he always talk about courting Republicans, all this other stuff? That's because we have a 3-to-1 ratio of Republican to Democrat in the gerrymandered district. And that's the only way we can win. It's the only way we can win, because unfortunately, it's always tough to get Democrat votes out. We're finding that we have to get out the vote on our own party constantly, devote time, devote money to, because they just don't get out.
Yeah.
And that's the big difference we see out here. I mean, obviously, I'd have a different story if I were in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. And that's why you'll have Philadelphia candidates that won't be as thrilled as I am to have an open ticket and no straight party voting. It helps people in rural communities, yes, or suburban areas, but it does not help urban areas.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And that's where you're going to see the difference with the people that you talk to on how it won't benefit them.
I think, once people get to realize and know that there is options, you don't have to switch your party to be Democrat. Even we want you to do so, but you can choose for your local officials. You can actually learn about them and what they're bringing.
As you should. Yeah.
As you should. And, you can vote for whoever you think would be the best president, and which I don't know. I mean,
that's a no-brainer right now, but okay, I hear what you're saying. Yes, yes.
It should be a no-brainer because I asked so many Trump supporters to just give me one good reason. Mm-hmm. He just say I'm Republican. He doesn't hold any value or ethics of your party. He is the list can go on and on and on. And everything that he's been doing is unethical, illegal, you name it. So I don't see this as stay home. If you don't like Joe Biden, you don't want to vote Democrat, I mean, it's your right to vote. And I'm not encouraging people to stay home, but you cannot just vote for someone because he is, your one person that your party has put in the lead. And this is just sickening. And the same will go with your local officials. Dan, can you go on and tell people what your issues, what is the campaign is going to focus on to help your district?
Well, as I said at the beginning, the one big thing that we're looking on is getting our hands dirty to moving us the state closer of not having PSSAs and keystones, regulated mandated testing for our students. It's become a major the mental stability of our students is being is drained, I should say, because they dread going to school, taking these tests. I didn't have to take a Keystone exit exam or do a senior class project in order to graduate. We went to class, we did what we had to do. We had 8 periods of 52 minutes long, a recess. I have a nephew that at eight years old had classes that constituted of having a math class for an hour and 20 minutes, writing class that ended up going for an hour, had a science course that went for an hour and 10 minutes. The curriculum of his day was modeled around these tests.
Mhm.
And he had a 20-minute recess or a 20-minute art class. I'm not saying that school is playtime all the time.
Yeah.
But you have to have some sort of social ability, but be able to have that focus to do it. Not worry about these tests and all, and the teachers having to do what they have to do in order for the funding to get it. I don't blame the teachers at all for this. I don't blame the administrators at all for this. I honestly feel that funding needs to happen within the districts themselves. The teachers know the area, the administrators know the area. They should develop a plan as far as funding is concerned and present that to the state versus having a mandated testing, because you have places like that have a senior class of 38 compared to a senior class of 350 kids.
Mm-hmm.
That might be different, and mandated test just doesn't do that. And so my nephew is on the spectrum, and has to take these tests. And people say that, oh, he can opt out of it and so on. Yes, they can. But the difference is someone like my nephew still took the tests.
Yeah.
But it was spread out over the day. Whereas a person that didn't have that disability took it in one sitting.
Yeah.
And they were included in a bunch that if they didn't get a passing grade or certain score on this,
it does affect them. It affects their college. It affects their
they have to redo it
or not. Yeah, they need to be able to do it. But that's like one of the main issues that you are focusing on, and then you're focusing on gun safety, like you said earlier.
Transportation was the other one. Gun safety was something that, like I said, we didn't make that a major issue, mainly because I live in a hunting area. But yes, there is a call as far as for any type of guns or anything. Yes, I'm for logical as far as background checks and so on. Just to provide an example, my mother received a call. A good friend of ours was purchasing a gun, and when my mom got the call, said they asked her, "Do you know so and so?" Yes. How long have you known so and so? And she said, for 18 years. And does this so and so have lots of armament or guns in the house? Yeah, he owns quite a few. Does he plan on doing any type of harm to government officials? Blah 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 blah. And my mom was like, no. Says, okay, thank you very much. And my mom asked, well, wait a minute. Is this that call that everyone talks about, the background check? And they said, yes, ma'am, it is. And she asked, well, what if I'm lying?
Yeah.
And the person on the other line said, asked, are you? And she said, no, but what if I am? And he said, ma'am, it is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah. Literally, it is what it is. It's like what our president said before. So bottom line is, this is just the way it is. We can't have that. I'd feel much safer if we had someone that went through mental background checks or more steps in order to get a gun. It's the people that want to have the gun like yesterday I get a little bit worried about. They'll ultimately get it. It's like that kid. It's like the child wanting to have the popular toy for Christmas early. You got to wait.
Yeah.
And that's it. But that's as far as I will go with as far as guns. Like you say, I own guns myself.
Yeah.
And it's my responsibility to keep them locked and keep them safe from where I need to have them. But that's my choice to have them, protection for my household. Yeah. That's why I have them.
Transportation.
What's that?
You were saying transportation.
Transportation is a major issue within our area because we're sort of spread out a little bit. We have the main hub of Cranberry Township which is like it is a little city almost. But then it spreads out to farm area, and then we go to Butler and all sorts of places. In various counties around us, Newcastle, we have Mercer County, we have Greene County, we have Westmoreland County, Washington County, Beaver County. They have local transportation systems that take you in various places. It helps individuals that don't have vehicles themselves. They also take their citizens, the county citizens, to Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. For 14 years, I've worked in with the financial institution in Pittsburgh, 25 years I've been in the industry. I recently got laid off in November, Thanksgiving, Monday after Thanksgiving last year, after 14 years. So that's another positive with this campaign side note is I'm a full-time candidate.
Yeah.
I digress. But every time I would travel from here to the city, I would pass these buses.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking a little bit more, and I'm living in the area. We've never had something like that. But then whenever I did more research, I found out that a person that held a job at, say, a hotel in Butler City, it's just a little small town, Butler, at a hotel, they would get paid $18 an hour. But if they would work in Cranberry Township where I live, that same job at a hotel at a Marriott over here would be close to about $25 or $26 an hour.
Oh, wow.
That big of a difference because we have more population coming through here. We have the Lemieux Sports Complex there where the Penguins practice all the time and so on and so forth. But there's a lot more attractions that bring people here. So why would someone that doesn't have a vehicle be penalized with that? If we had a public transportation system, we would be able to bring all corners of the county into, say, Cranberry Township that can be a learning experience for these other towns. Bring a wealth of knowledge to help those other towns grow rather than making it just itself. We need a representative that can step up and work with local leaders because that commend them for what they've done for the area, but encourage them to build it out, to share the wealth on what's happening with the rest of the county so we can make Butler County the best it can be. And that's why I honestly feel that we need to have that. Now, the deficiency of this right now, this idea of this proposal, is the fact that, yes, we can get bus lines in. Yes, we can we can bring new jobs to the area for drivers. But the problem is that when we bring a subject from Butler to Cranberry, we have nowhere to take that person once they get to Cranberry to their destination. Now we're talking about the inner community transportation systems to take the routes inside. That's the obstacle, that's the step, and that's what I'm willing to get more involved with, because our current representation is only worried about taxes, guns, and babies and impeaching the governor. And that's how it is. So that's in 2 years.
And Pennsylvania was one and still is one of the best states that controlled the pandemic. And thanks to Governor Wolf, who is doing this, and he's still facing all this resistance and hate. And I want to just thank Dr. Levine also for doing an amazing job. But like you said, your opponent and other people who come once every 2 years during an election and attacking their opponents and not doing anything during the year for their district or for their people, the ones that voted for them. So I am glad we have a lot of people from Butler, we have a lot of people from your area that are listening now, and they need to learn more. If you do not know Daniel Smith, go to his website. I posted that on the top of the video. I will also share that. You can go to his Facebook page and follow. Look in his campaign and find the issue that he is passionate about. Feel free to contact him. There is a donation button and there is a volunteer opportunities. You can do anything you can do to help. It will be appreciated, I'm sure. And it will come better from you, Dan, if you let people know how they can help you win this election.
Well, we were actually very blessed with a national endorsement not too long ago. Pete Buttigieg endorsed our campaign. We had a wonderful video with that. That's opened up the doors to a lot more volunteers. Obviously, because of what the pandemic has faced us, I'm one to never assume of what medical conditions are. I know in my family, my husband has a deficiency that would attack his immune system. My mother was just diagnosed with sarcoidosis. That's an immune deficiency disorder that attacks itself. So I can't put them in harm's way as well. But what we're doing is, instead of knocking doors, we're reaching out in various ways, social media boosting with the donations that we do get, advertising, media, digital ads. But one of the best two things that have been working for us is text banking, phone banking, and postcard writing.
Yeah.
Postcard writing, we have a little script that if people want to do that or sign up for it, they would just get postcard cards and write what we have on there. They provide the postage and mail it out from wherever they are. We have people from all over the country doing that for us right now, thanks to one, who I'm running against because he's received national attention negatively, and two, because of Mayor Pete's help. So, and especially with phone banking, if people want to call, and if they're over on we got people from in Philadelphia, we got people in New York, we got people in Texas and Maine, over in California that are doing phone banking for us. Text banking, same thing. So if that is something that you would like to do to help us rid this person of the legislature once and for all, a win for our district. It's not just for our district. This is going to be a win for Pennsylvania as a whole. This is an individual that's on the, like I said before, on the environmental committee, chairing the environmental committee. And his last quote is that he enjoys eating his vegetables and plants, and they need CO2. So I want to make sure we have plenty of CO2 out there so we have green grass and green vegetables going.
Yeah.
So that sounds to me like an unstable person that would be on the environmental committee, but be that as it may, we need to get him out. It's a benefit for Pennsylvania. So everyone's help is very much appreciated. We've have great strides with this campaign, great support with this campaign. We have a few more high-level endorsements come on the horizon that I can't go into detail, but be on the lookout for that. But you can sign up for all of those at www.danielforpa.com, or go on Facebook and follow us at DanielForPA. And if you want to reach out and talk more to us, our email address is info@danielforpa.com.
And like Daniel said, this is non-traditional campaigning. So anything help.
Mhm.
I myself, I helped, I wrote cards. You don't have to be in Daniel district. And as long as you have a phone, you can call, you can text. There is also Turn PA Blue. There is few websites.
You have a pen in the hand, you can do postcards.
That to do the card, and the donation. Danny did not go into that, but I will mention that here. Anything, it is start with 525, whatever you can do. Of course, there is less than 50 days left, so anything that you the next will help with the campaign. And one thing that I want to hammer on, everyone is listening to us head right now. Like Dan said, the win for Dan is not just win for his district, but it's for whole Pennsylvania. And we have to turn Pennsylvania blue. This is a critical year. We cannot sit this one out. You cannot just simply say, I'm not going to vote. My vote will not matter. It will matter.
We have the census this year.
We do.
We must flip the House, because if we don't, then the majority party that we have right now will be in charge of redistricting once again, and we'll be stuck with it for another 10 years.
We will lose a lot of the benefit that you mentioned earlier, distributing, the funds to schools based on their area code, not fair distribution. We're going to have a lot of issue. It is not just, you might not see it until you look and find what it will affect you. And that's by looking at your local official. And if you don't know who's your local official is, learn it. Type the names, type your district, and find who is your local official. And most of them, like Dan said, his opponent he made national news, and that's not a good thing because it's a negative publicity. A lot of them are not doing anything, and they just get reelected because you always voted Republican.
Because of the gerrymandering. Because remember how I said that I had a 3-to-1 ratio with Republicans to Democrats? That's because we had a Republican majority during the last census 10 years ago that changed the district in order to have that.
Yeah.
So imagine if we don't get the majority and the Republicans do, when you go through another census, that can change this district to maybe 5-to-1.
Yeah.
6
Yeah.
to 1.
Yeah.
Forget
And that,
about funding, and then that does with the funding, that eliminates funding and so on.
yeah.
So yes, this is very important, and you have to know who you're dealing with. And remember that local issues aren't partisan issues. You have to put party politics aside and read about the individual that's representing you. Federal, I hate to say it, I don't care about the Congress stuff like that as much because I'm running for this.
Yeah. Because
But
you're focusing on your district, and if people focus on their district, learn about who's running in their district, vote
yes,
for that person, then learn about who's going to be your state senate, Congress person,
and then move. Yeah,
then
right.
forward.
Exactly.
It will affect you some way or another. You
Right.
don't have, yeah, it doesn't have to affect you directly for you to care. That's what we want people to start doing and understanding. But it will affect you. And like Dan said, the census is coming. It's going to change our the distribution of the not just the vote, but even the
Money. Yeah.
the money. It will affect your children, it will affect the schools, it will
Mhm.
affect your taxes, property taxes. And it is very important. You cannot keep saying, I don't talk about politics, I don't do politics, I just vote because my family voted this way. This is not the year to gamble, and it is gambling. So
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
if you're listening out there, just do your part and learn about your candidates before you vote. And then before we end, can you just give everyone out there, and I know this hour went by fast, there are so many issues
Yeah.
to discuss with you, but I urge everyone to go to your website and contact you. Can you just summarize, and I know it's a lot, but can you summarize what you stand for? Why should they vote for you?
Once again, I thank you, Hagir, to invite me onto this program. I really appreciate you helping us get the word out. Bottom line, as we had said, that I'm making this race as nonpartisan as possible. People say, "Well, that could be an independent or whatever." No, it's what this is a native son that's taking pride in his area that he's grown up in since he was 1 year old, watching it grow from orchards to buildings to towns, the city. It's just shows a lot of grace and a lot of promise and growth. And when a native son learns from their local leaders that they haven't had a communication with their state representative for over 20 years, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, that should piss you off.
Yeah.
And that's what it did with me, because that's the pride I have in this area. Yes, I have a big obstacle to overcome running as a Democrat, but people are starting to realize that local issues aren't partisan issues when it comes to with myself. I've been in the private sector for 25 years in the finance industry. All that time, I did not have a college education. I had to drop out because I had bills to pay. I'm now going back to college to finally getting my degree during my time of being laid off and running for office. I feel that we need to have someone to work hard to bring our tax dollars back here, to work with our leaders, so our municipal leaders don't have to spend our local tax dollars on lobbying firms to go send the Harrisburg to bring money back around our representative. We need someone to be able to face the constituents, whether it was good or bad, because that's what a state representative does. And we can't make this a job. We can't make this something, because what I am doing, once elected, is I'm focusing on doing what's 2 years ahead of me, because that's what I'm afforded. And that's why we're aggressive with our platform, with education and transportation. But we can't do this alone, and we need your help. Once again, I thank you, Hagir, for having me on. And that's to sum up what we're doing. I'm just running as a pissed off constituent wanting to do something more. And running as on the Democratic ticket affords me the opportunity all the way to November to call him out, to bring him to task, and to also debate him this time, so we can really get the issues on board, because he's already focused on my homosexuality, my family history, everything else, rather than bringing the issues up. And people are starting to see through that.
Yeah, that shouldn't matter. Your personal life, your race, your religion, your sexual identity should not matter. What matters is what you are going to bring to your district, and
Mhm.
how are you going to help your exact location, your people that you grew up with, you know, and they know you. So I really hope everyone listening out there, if you don't live in the area and you know someone that live in the area, please call them, talk to them, urge them to learn about Dan and vote for him.
And the last thing I'll pass off to anybody in the local races, whenever you're voting for anybody in your local races, take a step back, look at the names. When you learn them, answer these two questions. Well, do you think that this person is just trying to be a politician to keep the job, or would this be a public servant that would do the job? Those are what you look for within an elected representative. And if it's the first, it's not the way to go,
Yeah.
because they'll just try and keep saying what they want to say. Public servant steps up, takes chances, gets their hands dirty, doesn't care what terms, how many terms they do. They just embrace what they have at that point and do the best they can with the time they have.
And that's the key. If there is one thing that you want to get out of this whole conversation, is finding who will be your public servant, the one who is going to work for the people, not just saying what they want to hear so they can get elected and re-elected, just like, and ending the term. This is one of the issues that you had in your website, and I know we're running out of time,
Oh no.
but there should be a limit to how many years that you can run, how many times, I mean, you
And
can.
that's the playbook. And that's the playbook I'm taking for my teacher who ran for office. She gave herself 5 terms, and
Yeah.
that's what I plan on doing as well.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, she didn't get what she accomplished done. We have this major interchange in Cranberry that was just built for the turnpike and everything else, but it was built like 10 years after she left office, but we call it the Corona interchange because she started the ball rolling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the thing.
But see, the term, if you're doing something, then it shouldn't matter. Yes.
But, yeah.
You.
And in the private industry, in the private sector, I've always seen that everyone that has a job sort of grows out of the job in an average of 10 years anyway, and they want to move on, get to go for another position or anything like that. I honestly feel that by giving myself a 5-term limit on doing that, if I'm blessed to have that, I think that it's time to bring fresh ears and fresh eyes into this spot, and not keep it because it's a job or what, because of the benefits or whatever, what like my opponent's doing.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be. And I know you have people like my opponent that says, well, we do have term limits. It's called elections. Bull.
No.
If you live in a 3-to-1 ratio district, you know you're going to win. You have a job.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So when someone like myself steps up, you get scared. You'll realize that you look back to time that you've done it, and you notice you haven't done anything.
Yeah.
You're going to say or do anything to try and keep the job, and that's where the hatred comes in. He's scared, and that's why I know we're doing well.
Yeah. And you heard it right here. Please vote your conscience. Please learn about your candidates and vote for them. Learn about him and share his name. Make people know and learn his name. If you don't live in that area, there is ways to help. You can text, you can do the phone banking, you can do the cards like we said. And if you just joining us like some of you are, as soon as we finish, you can go back and listen to the whole show from the beginning and learn about Dan. And I want to thank you, Dan, for giving us the time and for running, because this is not something anyone will wake up and say, I'm just gonna work for next year just for a chance I might be able to work harder and serve people or not. I know it's an honorable thing to do, and
it's hard. Like I said, I'm surprised my husband hasn't divorced me yet, but you're right.
But anyone out there, please go learn and vote. And thank you everyone for listening to us and for sharing and for supporting and going into Danny's website and looking onto what you can do to help. And thank you again, Dan, for coming. I wish you the best, and we will be there with you, sharing every time and following everything that you post on your site and share it in our website as well. And hopefully, we will be talking to you when you become the representative for your local district.
You offer a wonderful space, Hagir. You offer a wonderful place, and thank you very much for asking me once again. And I look forward to doing this. And any guests that you would have will benefit greatly from doing a show like this, because you really do get the message out. But thank you for your kindness.
Thank you very much, and thank you, everyone. We will see you next Monday.
Goodbye.